Alright, so obviously there's been a lot of theories going on around as to who Savitar really is. And to be honest, this is my entry into the fray. Let's go. So to be upright and clear with you guys, I've always been really critical of the idea that Savitar could actually be anything but the comic book counterpart that he is shown to be in the show. Now, the reason I think this, honestly, is because there's a lot of evidence that supports that he's actually Savitar. If you want me to talk about the possibility of him being future Flash, I actually do that at this point in the time code if you guys want to check that out. Now, with that addressed, let's go forward and talk about why Savitar is Savitar, as opposed to Savitar. First of all, Savitar's name actually comes from the Hindu god of motion, Savitar, which is actually really fitting because in the comics, he is noted as being faster than the Flash, which, to be honest with you guys, obviously is a very difficult feat to accomplish.
You've got some serious speed, girl.
Hold up. Are you saying I'm faster than Barry?
According to the comics, Savitar is actually a man from World War II. There's not a whole lot of other information except that he was in a fighter jet that was experimental. He was zapped with a bolt of lightning, which at the time brought him down, but he also at the same time gained super speed. Now, he used this ability to fight his enemies in World War II, and then when he got the chance, he actually put a lot of time and effort into actually further exploring the Speed Force and giving himself a bunch of different abilities. These sorts of things include an inertia field that he's able to actually expand and use as a weapon against other speedsters as well as a way to protect himself. But the important thing that I find really cool, when he's doing this, he ends up developing a cult. People who believe in Savitar's vision and his ideas.
It's Temple of Doom stuff.
And this is directly contrary to what Max Mercury at the time was thinking. And in the comics, that is when he gets sent into the Speed Force, and then his supporters, over a few centuries, actually gather a lot of followers. Now, in the CW verse, what happens is that the Flash sends Savitar's Philosopher's Stone into the Speed Force. Now, what I think that is actually representative of is Max Mercury sending Savitar into the Speed Force originally, and he comes out later, centuries later by the comic standards, to meet the modern day Flash. So when he returns a few centuries later in comic time, but obviously just a few episodes in the CW Flash timeline, he's accrued a ton of followers. And what have they done? Well, they've gotten ready to fight by Savitar's side when he returns, and when he does, he actually comes out to see modern-day Flash, Impulse, who's not introduced in the show, Johnny Quick, who's also not introduced in the show, Jesse Quick, who you guys are probably familiar with, XS, I'm not actually sure who that is, and in particular Max Mercury, which, again, I've already kind of mentioned. I think he'll honestly be introduced at some point in the Flash timeline, but it'll be interesting to see how that's done. In the comic version, Wally West's direct connection to the Speed Force is what allows him to not have his speed taken away. What this allows him to do is with a coalition of other speedsters to spoil his plan. Savitar then decides he's going to destroy the world of the Flash. Our Flash, Barry Allen.
I'm going to destroy this city like I did in the future.
And the only way that Flash is able to actually stop that is to allow Savitar to become one with the Speed Force, which I think might have actually been alluded to as the future Flash, the one who did this to me, sealed him in the Speed Force.
I am only this way because of you.
Now that could be that, and it could actually just be a retelling of that in modern times, because it feels like the future Flash really doesn't seem to come into play except as a motivator in the show, at least at the moment. It'd be really cool if they did show a future Flash. In the New 52, which might actually be where this particular point in the show starts, because it actually involves Flashpoint. After Flashpoint, Savitar is able to escape the Speed Force, and is abruptly killed by Barry, who at that time, because of the Reverse Flash, as Eobard Thawne, has manifested as the Black Flash, or the Grim Reaper for all speedsters. So anyway guys, I'm just really excited to see where this plays out to, what happens, all that kind of thing. Because it'll be interesting to see exactly what Flash does. Now, all that being said, let's address the Flash in the room. A lot of people seem to think that Savitar is just a way to bring future Flash into the fray. Now, there is a fair bit of evidence, and I'm going to go into it quickly here. The first thing is actually that Future Flash, which, for those of you who don't know, is a darker, more twisted version of the Flash that we know today, Barry Allen. What happened is that, get this, Iris West and Wally die. Now, why they die, I'm not completely sure, but it has something to do with him allowing the Reverse Flash to actually live. And when he does this, he kind of goes into a bit of a spiral. The other thing that a lot of people are quoting from the show that's super popular is the fact that Savitar keeps saying this.
Because I am the future Flash.
Now, obviously, that's kind of pulling the idea of, holy shit, look, it's clearly the future Flash, and he's saying it. Honestly, I think that's kind of pulling the idea of suspension of disbelief a little too far. Now, there is some other evidence, like some things that Barry was especially there for, specifically just Barry. Cisco was actually told he could be a god by Reverb.
You don't even know how powerful you are. All you use your powers for are these cheap parlor tricks when you could be a god.
Those are events that seem to be just specifically something that Cisco and Barry were actually witness to. However, personally, I don't think that's the best of evidence. One of the other things that people mention is the fact that Savitar's outfit and the future Flash of the comics look very, very similar. They're not quite a Savitar, if you know what I mean. They're not the typical Savitar from the comics outfit, which I guess in Vancouver, where they actually shoot it, makes a little bit of sense. It's fucking freezing. Now, there is a clip that recently came out in the second last episode, the episode from last week, because I'm actually recording this a week in advance. This obviously kind of sets up the idea that Savitar is making himself by killing Iris and sending Flash into a spiral.
You're there when I become who I am.
You're saying I caused you to get your speed? I created you?
Oh no. I created myself, Barry. Only I can bring out my greatness.
Which will end up making him Savitar. And honestly, after seeing this episode, I was a little shaken. I thought, holy shit, are the facts all pointing to Barry Allen really being Savitar? Honestly, I was a little bit more converted than I would have expected from this episode. Now, the thing about Future Flash, he does get a blue suit and white lightning. The reason this is he's actually studied the Speed Force a lot more at this point, and he actually goes back in order to both kill a lot of the villains that he's dealt with in the past and end up murdering, I think, at least 10-15 different villains in the pages. And then he goes back into present day to try and deal with the Flash. What he does is he ends up fighting him and Wally, and when they do fight him, they both get their asses essentially handed to them. Straight up. And then at that point, after Flash has been killed by his own future self, he's actually forced to stay in the future. Or I guess technically his past, old Barry's present and future. Yeah, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Time remnants and shit like that are just as confusing to understand. But the point is, he would continue his chronological timeline, but this gives him the opportunity to change those things. I think it'd be an interesting kind of flip and switch, but honestly, I don't see them going this route. It seems like a cool idea, but honestly, I think it makes more sense if it's Savitar, especially since there's a fair bit more evidence actually pointing towards it being Savitar. I mean, aside from the fact that he says,
Because I am the future Flash.
you know. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Let me know what yours is in the comments down below. That said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate every single view, every single like, every single person who subscribes to the channel. And as always, if you guys are interested in more content, as I said before, subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit that notifications button, And if you're interested in more content and what I'm up to on a daily basis, I now have an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I actually update the Facebook and Twitter more often than anything else. That said, guys, I think it'll be interesting to see what you guys think and have a live discussion, maybe on Facebook or Twitter. Let me know. Anyway, guys, that's all I gotta say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next week. Also, last thing, I mentioned this in the last reflection and last vlog, but nobody's really seen it, so I'm just gonna put it out here. I'm on vacation, so I apologize if things are a little slow to get back started up again. Anyway, yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.